Hello, welcome back to the class. Today in this video we are going to deal with the sources of contamination. Where exactly the organisms come onto the food and gets lodged on the food and how henceforth it will grow and survive. All these sources we will see. As we all know that the very purpose of we or any animal or any creature or any organism, the purpose of having food is for the nutrition. So the food should be by nature, it should be nutritious. And the second point we all have to expect from the food is it has to be in a metabolizable state, right? So these two are important both for human being, animals and microorganisms. So what happens basically, plant and animal are the only two types of food we all have, right? Does anyone else will eat the other form of food? Right? No, it should be a plant or plant product, it should be animals. Growing plants carry a very typical flora of microorganisms on their surface, and there are all chances of getting contaminated from outside source also. Whereas animal foods, apart from having a typical surface flora, it also has an additional one as intestinal flora. So this gives off organism in excretion and secretions. And also the third point is it can become contaminated from outside source. So the risk is little bit more in terms of animal food. So it is useful for all of us being microbiologists to see the possibility of the sources of microorganisms to understand the ecology of the contamination. So to name the sources, I can name it in these five or six big headings. That is, it can come from soil, it can come from water, either air or green plants and fruits, animals, and sewage. These are all the major sources we are going to consider and deal with. So, one by one, I will take up and try to explain how it comes to the food. Taking soil as a source of contamination. The soil contains the greatest variety of microorganisms on any source of contamination. I can tell you that this is a treasure for we microbiologists. Soil is a treasure. See, you might have been observing from your degree classes that whenever a teacher says isolate some organisms, what everybody will do? Suddenly, all the people will go to the garden or the roadside or any area where the soil is available. We dig some soil and then take the soil sample, make cereal dilutions out of it, and try to plate it on nutrient agar and few specific agars to see whether fungi, MRBA, nutrient agar, or anything. So, we will see some organisms can appear on that. So, this is the first thing which a microbiologist look in for, that is soil. So why we all are dependent on soil for microorganisms? Because it is having greatest variety, right? The soil environment is extremely complex and different soils have their own diverse flora of bacteria, fungi, protozoa and algae. Different soil means, there are n number of soils like black soil, red soil, and then clay, sand, loamy soil. All these different types of soil will harbor different types of microorganisms. Fertile soil not only has numerous kinds of microorganisms, but also it has a very large quantity of microorganisms in them. So in terms of quantity and like kinds, number of kinds are also more, then number is also more, total number is also more. Soil microorganisms participate in the recycling of organic nitrogenous compounds. This is quite essential for the active growth of plants. That is why the soil is said to be fertile. Okay. Now, knowing all these things, your next question will be, if soil is harboring so many organisms, how it will reach our food? There are many ways by which the soil can reach on to your food. First of all, soil dust is whipped up by air currents. That means action of wind. When there is a huge wind and very strong wind, the soil dust is often raised and organisms are whipped up by air currents in this. The soil particles are carried by running water which can get onto the food, right? When it rains heavily, that too in Bangalore city, you might have seen how it rains. I mean, it is raining, how the running water get into the food. Your imagination can go anywhere it likes to. The soil is also a very competitive environment, I should say. And because why I should say it is a competitive environment, the physico-chemical parameters keep on changing rapidly in soil because the soil is quite exposed to the sunlight, then rainwater, to the monsoon, to the hot sun, everything, it is quite exposed, it is not covered with anything. So what happens, the physicochemical parameters keeps on changing. Morning it is okay, afternoon it is very hot, evening it is again windy, then night it is raining, again it can start seasons changes. In a day with the same season also there is lot of changes in the parameters. This stands alone facing all these things. In response to this, many soil bacteria and fungi produces resistant structures such as endospores, then sclerotia. Endospores in terms of bacteria and sclerotia in fungi. These are all the methods to survive, resistant methods. These can withstand desiccation and a very wide range of temperature fluctuation. The soil is an important source of heat resistant spore forming bacteria. Majority of the important microorganisms of food microbiology in fact comes from soil sources only. So few important ones are listed here, but this is not going to limit to this number because it goes on and on and on. You name the organism, you will find that organism in the soil. I have just listed here to fill up the slides like Bacillus, Clostridium, Enterobacter, Escherichia, Micrococcus, Alkaligens, Flavobacterium, Pseudomonas, etc., etc., etc. Right? Even actinomycetes are found in soil. Okay, so higher bacteria, actinomycetes, right? Modern methods of food handling usually involves washing the surface of the food, right? When we bring anything from the marketplace, we have the habit of washing it. So thank God that practice is there with us, and most of the bacteria or most of the microorganisms are washed off or removed from this practice. So now I need not tell how you wash. Maybe probably you will wash with chemicals, you'll wash with salt. Salt water will definitely for sure remove all the microorganisms which are harbored onto your vegetables and fruits. Coming on to water. Water as a source of contamination, you will see. The aquatic environment represents the largest part of the biosphere. So water in both in area and in volume is the highest one. So the freshwater and seawater contains many species of microorganisms, and these species are quite adapted to the particular habitats, I should say. See, for example, the natural water contain not only their natural flora, but also microorganisms from soil and from animals and sewage, because it is quite accessible to all these things. We have, as we had different types of soil, we do have different types of water too. That is surface water, like the streams, pools, etc. are all surface water. Then stored water, lakes and ponds. These all vary considerably in their microbial flora. The bacteria isolated from the water of the open ocean have a physiological requirement for salt, right? We all know that salt loving organisms will be isolated from the oceans and open seas. So they grow best at a relatively low temperature of the ocean and are nutritionally, a sort of adaptation is there to grow in the limited, relatively low concentration of available organic and nitrogenous compound. Everything is available in a limited way. These are all called oligotropic psychrophiles. So in water, you can see oligotropic psychrophiles, even though they don't have all the requirement, all the parameters in an optimum level, they grow best there because their adaptation is like that. Okay. So these are called oligotropic psychrophiles. Generally, we call that they have a physiological requirement for the uh, salt, that is sodium chloride, for their optimal growth. The kinds of bacteria in natural waters are chiefly the species of Pseudomonas, Chrom- Chromobacterium, Proteus, Micrococcus, Streptococcus, Enterobacter, and Escherichia coli. Here, I have put Streptococcus, Enterobacter, and E. coli in red to show that these may not be the natural flora of the natural waters, but it can be the contaminants also. Okay. So these bacteria in water surrounding fish and other sea life will establish themselves on the surface and in the intestinal tract of the sea fauna. It can get onto the fish. That is why you might have encountered lot of problems, that is stomach upset as soon as you have seafoods. Food poisoning and all is actually more when they have seafoods, right? You might have observed that. So the water used for the foods should meet both bacteriological standards to be called as drinking water, and also should be acceptable from sanitary viewpoint as well, right? Apart from bacteriological standards, we have to look in for the economic viewpoint standards also, economic point of view also, how economic it will be. I cannot ask the government or BBMP to supply, BWSSB, sorry, not BBMP, BWSSB to supply the purest form of water to the entire city. It definitely takes away half of our economy. I cannot give you the zero B water. I cannot give you the RO water supplied, right? So both bacteriological standards and economic point of view, if you want your water to be all right, we have a technique which is actually adopted to look in for an organism, which is actually we have termed it as indicator organism. What you will understand from this indicator organism? We all know that human excreta will have E. coli in that, right? So, definitely the water with the human excreta is not acceptable by anybody. So, when we are testing the water for potability, we are testing the water for the potability, what we have to do, we have to E. coli. It's not that only E. coli is there in human excreta. There are many other organisms, but E. coli is shed in more number. Easy to identify, isolate. That is the reason we all will go in for the indicator, E. coli as an indicator organism, and do some tests there, right? So after identifying the E. coli, it is easy for us to accept it or to deny it or reject it. Fine. So that is how the concept of indicator organism has come into picture. Fine. So microorganisms may introduce to your food, how by the contamination, where when the water is used as an ingredient for washing foods, for cooling heated foods, and for manufacturing ice for preservation of the foods. The gas forming coliform, I have just given here, the gas forming coliform bacteria may enter milk from cooling tank water. We have a cooling tank in the preparation in the dairy plant. If at all the cooling tank water what is used is not of bacteriological standards, all possibility of you getting the uh, organisms which was in the water onto your food is possible. Or if there is any, that is how, if there is any leakage in the pipeline or something like that, the gas forming coliforms may enter from cooling tank and cause trouble in cheese made from the milk. Also, anaerobic gas formers may enter foods from soil laden water. Cannery cooling is also there. This water often contains coliform and other spoilage bacteria that can enter canned foods. Here, what happens while canning, the foods after canned are boiled in the water. The cans are boiled in water. When boiling happens, due to the temperature, high temperature, sometimes the sealing may get opened. Okay, very minute opening may be there. So if the water for boiling the cans are not of bacteriological standards, all possibility of that water getting inside the leaked, opened, sealed cans and then causing all trouble in your food is possible. So these are all, like, if there is an accident in the process, then these are all possible to get onto the food. So the canned foods can get contaminated through minor defects like this. Bacteria causing ropiness of the milk. What are the bacteria causing ropiness of the milk? You might have studied uh, alkaligens, viscolactis, and Enterobacter aerogenes. This causes ropiness of the milk. I'm sure in dairy microbiology you will study what is the ropiness. That is a condition of the spoilage of the milk wherein the milk will be continuously slimy in nature. It will not be as you see the healthy milk or the proper milk. Fine. So these two organisms also are residents of water. It comes through water. It can be while mixing water into the milk, you can get alkalogens and enterobacter or by any other ways. Slime forming species of Achromobacter, alkaligens, and Pseudomonas cause trouble in cottage cheese. Pseudomonas putrefaciens causes surface taint of butter. This also comes primarily from water. The bacterial flora of crushed ice. Okay, so that is Cornybacterium, alkaligens, Flavobacterium, Pseudomonas, and cocci. These are all the organisms which reside in the ice. We all love ice. You know that we will when we go for juice centers to have some juices, what we will tell, Bhaiya thoda barf dalna. Right? So without juice, we will not consume, without ice, we will not consume juice at all. So, but in this, all our cornybacteria, Phylobacteria, Pseudomonas, cocci, they're all waiting in the crushed ice because see, I'm not telling that all crushed ice will have this. You know, in Indian condition, how the ice are prepared. What water is used for the ice preparation, God only knows. After God knowing that water from which the ice is prepared, you all are aware that how ice is transported to the juice centers. I have seen couple of people getting it in a very artistic way. Some carry it in the cycle behind the carrier, some carry it in the footrest of the scooter or the Luna or whatever you call that vehicle as. Some use it as a footrest only. They keep the slippers, legs with the slipper on the ice. Some people cover that ice with a gunny bag. I don't know from where the origin of the gunny bag is. Some people, I should not tell in this the video, how at all these ice, after preparation of ice, how these ice are treated. God also knows, we also know. Only thing is we need to open our eyes and our observation should be very, very high. So, with all these things, ice will come and land up in the juice center, and he will probably, if he is very sensible, he will put 2 mugs of water on this and ice and then wipe it off. Then rest is left to you and your fate. So, Bhaiya Zara Barf Dalna will invite my Cornybacterium, alkaligens, Flavobacterium, Pseudomonas, and many other cocci into your juice. So, happy juice drinking. This is left to you. Then coming to the seafoods. The sea around the coast is influenced by the inputs of terrestrial as well as freshwater microorganisms. And more importantly, by human activities. Now, I don't ask me to explain what are the other human activities, ma'am. I can restrict in stating that washing the clothes, washing donkeys, washing cows, washing other things. I cannot go beyond this, but your imagination can go. Many shellfishes are used for food grown in these polluted coastal areas, coastal waters. Severe diseases such as gastroenteritis have been caused by eating contaminated oysters, mussels, fish, all these things. The organism playing a role here is Vibrio parahemolyticus. This is always causing food poisoning. Present in these unpolluted seawater may be responsible for the outbreak. So the bacterial flora of seawater is essentially gram negative. That is the reason it can take the food poisoning to little bit higher levels, right? So you should be very, very careful. Whenever I have asked the reason for the leave with the students, what happened, stomach upset, why I had food, then I will go into details and ask what food you had outside. Invariably, they end up with fish or any other seafoods. So be very careful when you are having fish. Finally, I would like to relate this soil and water flora. Soil organisms may enter the atmosphere by the action of wind and later enter water bodies when it rains, right? It's a cycle. Then these also enter water when rainwater flows over the soil into bodies of water. Aquatic organisms can be deposited onto soil through the action of cloud formation. Cycling results in soil and aquatic organism being one and the same to a very large extent, right? So I cannot differentiate between these are water organisms, these are soil organisms, both are relatives. They will come and go to each other's house. Soil will go to water, water will go to soil, and it rains and everything's there. So the microflora of soil and water will be one and the same almost. So we will end this video to this, and next we will take up the other sources. Thank you. Till then, stay safe. Bye bye.